Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakchurunmilitamena Tasmae Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam. Hare Krishna. We are discussing on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Now, on today's discussion, we will discuss about the relevancy of Bhagavad Gita, or how relevant Srimad Bhagavad Gita is on the day today, on this age of space tech. Before beginning with, in order to ascertain the meaning of any book, when I say any book, it does not only imply to with Bhagavad Gita, but any book. It is necessary to consider 6 major things. The first one is its opening statement called Upakrama, the opening statement of a book, or the Upakrama, and second its closing statement of any book, Upasamhara, and a book's repetition of any subject means Abhyasa, how many times it is being repeated or how it is being repeated, Abhyasa. And fourth one is extraordinary result of reading any text or any book called Apurvatva Phala. After reading any book, we get some extraordinary result. So, the extraordinary result of reading a book called Apurvatva Phala. And fifth one is its praise of subject, Arthavad. And the sixth one is its logical arguments that establish a conclusion, Upapatti. So, unless one consider all these 6 elements of any book, starting from its first Upakrama to Upasamhara and Abhyas and Apurvatva Phal, and then Arthavad and Upapatti, and the conclusion of the book, the final. So, unless one considers all these 6 elements, a book's true import remains elusive. So, those who deliberate on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, keeping these 6 limbs of analysis in mind, will easily understand that presently pure devotion is the final import or the final conclusion given in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. At present, however, ordinary people make a conclusion on the meaning of scriptures according to their own whims, to fulfill selfish desires, or to establish their own conclusion, or to support their conclusion via Bhagavad Gita, taking a statement from Bhagavad Gita to establish their own authority or their own conclusion on any point. So, they do not deliberate on these 6 limbs of analysis, and therefore, they remain incapable of grasping the author's real intent. It is for any book, this implies for any books. So, when Arjuna wanted peace, why did Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, actually who is playing there as a role of normal human being or a friend of Arjuna, he is speaking philosophy to impel him to fight, is not it surprising. So, the Gita asserts that lasting peace is possible when we first make peace with Paramatma inside us, Paramatma in our own hearts. Only when we are peaceful within can act in ways that will promote the peace without. Okay, the person who don't have that peace from inside, or who is not peaceful from the heart, how he can find that peace anywhere in the world? So, peace is the thing to be searched inside. We have to go deep inside to know the peace. So, when we are peaceful within, then we can act in the way that will promote peace without. So, and we can have that eternal peace only when we are in harmony with our internal nature, and which is that we are neither gross bodies nor subtle mind, intelligent or an ego, but our real identity is non-material soul, or the beloved children of Sri Krishna, as he mentions in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, aham bija pradah pita sarva yonishu kaunteya, to all the living entities, all species of living entities. Aham bija pradah pita, I am bija pradah pita, means seed giver father for all, sarva yoni means all species, all varieties of life in this material world. So, therefore, we can achieve our right to real peace and happiness not by making patchwork arrangements in this world of inescapable death, but by reviving our innate love for Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra and returning back home, back to Godhead, or to his eternal abode Sri Vaikuntha. All our worldly duties are of value only when they assist in our ultimate duty to towards making love and towards serving the God, or towards having that devotional, towards having that loving service attitude in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Although the antagonist Kaurav were a relative of Arjuna, but by their nefarious activities they were disrupting the marga, or the pathway of dharma, or the law and order essential for human beings to practice spirituality and achieve love of Sri Krishna, love of God. So, Arjuna's duty to God required that he surgically deprive the Kaurav from their sin, or of their sin contaminated this body and position, so as to establish the social order that would escort in lasting peace. Now, why did actually Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra then choose a battlefield to enlighten Arjuna? Wasn't there any other proper place for enlightening anyone? I mean, the battlefield where already everything is fixed, both armies are exactly in the position to fire now, to shoot their arrow, and Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra finds time, or choose the time and choose the place of battlefield, choose the time of that battle to enlighten Arjuna. Why actually he chose this battlefield to enlighten the Arjuna? In addition to being a historical fact, the setting of Bhagavad Gita signifies a deeper conflict within our own consciousness. When we are giving this metaphor example or its meaning, we should not forget actually this Gita is a historical fact. This had happened once, but that historical fact is setting the setting of this historical fact is making the scenario of setting of Bhagavad Gita, the setting of this historical fact, significance or this incident, setting of this incident of this battlefield, signifies a deeper conflict within our own level of consciousness or in our heart. Within every human psychic is a lower self represented by Kaurava, and there is a higher self or the self in higher consciousness represented by the Pandava. So, the Kurukshetra war thus represents the strife between virtue and vice within our own hearts. So, generally there is understanding, oh, that means the Kurukshetra war represents strife between virtue and vice within our heart, does not means that the incident or the this battlefield and this battle did not happen. That had happened there, which signifies the strife of strife between virtue and vice within our heart also. And Arjuna's breakdown, signifies our own bewilderment about right and wrong, dharma and adharma in the face of intractable perplexity, and Krishna's instruction illuminates for us the path of highest morality based on selfless devotion to Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra. So, Arjuna's eventual victory after enlightenment represents the potency of the divine wisdom of Srimad Bhagavad Gita to empower us to ultimately triumph over our lower nature or asuric vritti or mode of ignorance, and achieve that inner fulfillment in this life and eternal joyful life thereafter, after this life. Sripad Shankaracharya, Adya Guru Shankaracharya here explains in his Gita Mahatmyam commentary from Padma Purana the unique position of Gita within the vast Vedic library. We have discussed a lot about Srimad Bhagavad Gita's uniqueness and glory among all Vedic literatures in many of our previous talks. As we have heard from Padma Purana, there it compares all the Vedic literatures, Vedic scriptures to a cow, and compares Bhagavan Sri Krishna to the cowherd boy milking that cow of Vedic scriptures, and Arjuna to a calf, and the Gita to be the essence of that cow, the milk. Thus, the Gita is considered to be the essence of all Vedic literature. We have explained this time to time, we have discussed this time to time. Appreciation for the Gita is not only limited to Vedic circles actually. Many Western scholars have found the Gita to be amazingly coherent and cognate. Once this Ralph Waldo Emerson's remark is very simple but very high in relation to Bhagavad Gita. He says, I owed a magnificent day to the Bhagavad Gita. It was the first books. It was as if an empire spoke to us, nothing small or unworthy, but large and sharing consistent the voice of an old intelligent which is in another age and climate had pondered and thus disposed of the same questions which exercise us. So, when once Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, he and leading exponent, his founder Acharya of ISKCON as well as his leading exponent of Gita in the modern times, he was asked once in United Kingdom about the purpose of his visit there. at that old age of almost 75, 70, 74, 75, at the age of 74, 75, at the age of actually retirement, or at the age where he should completely be taking rest, he was asked about the purpose of visit in United Kingdom at that age. So, he presently he replied to that guy who asked Srila Prabhupada why he was visiting United Kingdom in this world age. He replied, when you Britishers, you ruled India, you plundered her of all her wealth, but you forgot to take her most precious jewel. What is that precious jewel? I have actually come to give you what you forgot to take, that precious jewel, the wisdom of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So, Bhagavad Gita then, if it is so jewel among the Vedic literatures, the essence of Vedic literatures, as we know that Bhagavad Gita had a history of at least 5200 years, at least for this modern time also. 5200 years back in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra imparted this wisdom to his dear and near friend Arjuna, his eternal associate Arjuna. Then how is it relevant with the age of space technology? As once a touching remark by Martin Luther King Jr., he is told, we have guided missiles but misguided man. We have guided the missiles but misguided man. This touching remark by Martin Luther King Jr. about the state of modern world, modern society rings actually strikingly true. It creates that alarm that we should think on it. In recent times, there has been an amazing increase in human ability to control the outer world through science and technology. We already aim to have airbuses steering to moon, rotating to moon, and we already aim, or we already dream to have settlement in Mars. But with that has come an alarming decline in human ability to control the inner world, actually to control the inner self, actually to control the human behavior itself, or guide the human behavior in proper path. We are declining that ability. The result, then we are resulting irrational passions lead to immorality and corruption at the best, and terrorism and brutality at the worst. Not much better than that. So, the current state of the world rests on the source of happiness, a quest that Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra tells us in Srimad Bhagavad Gita lies at the heart of all human endeavors. While ascertaining that happiness is our happiness is our inalienable right, then the Bhagavad Gita provides a clear pathway for its achievement. The fundamental teaching of Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is that our current existence has two dimensions, material and spiritual. We are spiritual beings residing in material bodies. So, modern scientific studies in the field such as past life memories or past life therapies and near death experiences and consciousness also strongly suggest a spiritual part of our being that exists after bodily death, because the spiritual part of our being is that consciousness which exists even after this bodily death. Furthermore, Bhagavan Sri Krishna explains that just as the soul animates the body, the super soul or the supreme being, the controller of everything, Bhagavan Sri Krishna animates the entire cosmos. Bhagavan Sri Krishna tells us that material existence is temporary and troublesome also, and because of an existential disharmony, human beings tend to neglect the spiritual dimension of their lives and focus only on material ambition, material gain and material achievements. This imbalance stunts their ability to partake of the fullness of life. The result is then dissatisfaction appears individually as stress, as a depression, as a anxiety, as irritability, and so on and so on, and socially as disunity and violence all around, and wars, as we have seen, taking around, fighting around. This disharmony also results in the universal and inescapable evils of birth, old age, disease and death at last. So, our innate longing for immortality in the world subjects to death suggests that we belong to an immortal world. Means here we should understand that nobody wants to die, but everybody should die. Yeah. Nobody. There are so many hospitals, so many medicines, so many pharmaceutical industries, and we have buildings, we have all these arms and artilleries, everything to protect us from disease, to protect us from the death. Nobody in this world desires to have death, to hug that death. Nobody wants to die, but in material world, each and every individual, not only human beings, everything have that tendency to change. They are not permanent in this world, nothing is permanent. Everybody should die, but we should understand that everybody should die. This body dies, not the soul inside, which functions as a consciousness or that Chetan Tattva to make this body functioning. Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra points a higher dimensional world for these living entities who do not want to die, who wants to be immortal. So, that means our real nature is, by nature in itself, is immortal. We are immortal by nature. Then Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra points a higher dimensional world beyond this malicious effect of time. How death comes? Death comes because the effect of time. If we are beyond the time, then there is no question of birth and death, because if there is no time at all, then when every changes comes because of time. If we are beyond the effects of time, then death cannot touch us. So, Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra explains in Srimad Bhagavad Gita this higher dimensional world beyond this malicious effect of time, saying Paratasmattu bhavanyo avyakto avyaktat sanatana. sa yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinashyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, the part remains as it is, or that part, that spiritual world, or that world beyond the effect of time, matter and space remains as it is. So, Krishna's superior spiritual energy is actually transcendental and is eternal also. It is beyond all the change of material nature which is manifest and annihilated during the days and nights of Brahma. Krishna's superior energy is completely opposite in quality to material nature. Superior and inferior nature furthermore better explained in the 7th chapter of same this very book Srimad Bhagavad Gita. That realm of Sri Bhagavan is characterized by a sweet harmony of divine love between the innumerable subordinate souls and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the absolute beauty. There the Supreme Person, being all attractive, is the pivot of all relationships, and is therefore best known as Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Krishna the all attractive one, because everything is by itself is attracted towards him. Their all soul as the living entity enjoy an eternal life of full awareness and bliss, provided they are in harmony with Bhagavan Sri Krishna's will. Only the rebellious one, Bairmukh Jeev, like us, fall here to the realm of matter, where we can see the result of disharmony, and eventually we too decide to reform ourselves to achieve the love for that supreme beauty, absolute truth. Now, during their exile in the material realm, souls occupy, these living entities occupy different bodies according their desires and activities, and each body, whether a human being or subhuman being or demigods, devata, or any insects or plants or animals or reptiles, birds, whatever it may be, imposes on the soul and demand of eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So, the soul struggles hard to try to fulfill these bodily demands, whose repetitive nature makes life continuous hardship with only momentary relief whenever the demands are satisfied. So, suffering, however, is good, because it provides the necessary impetus to return to harmony, just as fever provides the impetus to accept a cure. Among 8.4 million species that inhabits in this world, in this nature, in this cosmos, the human form is especially gifted, because only in this human body does the soul have that required intelligence to question his suffering and attempt to remedy it. Bhagavad Gita addresses such intelligent human beings. So, asserting that material nature is endlessly mutable, as Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter 4th slok explains adibhutam chero bhava puruschadhi daivatam adiyagyo hamevatra dehe deha bhritambarah. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature which is constantly changing is called adibhut, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods like those of the sun and the moon, is called Adi Daiva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every embodied living entities, am called Adi Yagya, the Lord of sacrifice. So, Lord Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, advised that seeker of true happiness to not to be disturbed by the dualities of heat and cold, pain and pleasure, and so on, that the result of the inevitable changes in material world which comes and goes, which passes as the season passes. He explained, or as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 2nd chapter 14th slok, saying matras parsastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agama paino nityams tams titikshasho bharatah. What Bhagavan Krishna does not recommend a life of inane fatalism. We should be conscious, or we should be aware with it. He exhorts us to direct our energy in a fruitful direction, because our anomalous condition results from a disharmony with our spiritual nature. Krishna recommends that attempts for improvement be directed not in the material realm, but in the spiritual realm, or in Sri Vaikuntha. Now, person may have a question, by listening all these things, how is the relevance of Bhagavad Gita proven in present scenario? How is it? Actually, it is here that we can see relevance of Bhagavan Sri Krishna's teaching to the modern state of affairs. Over the past few centuries, modern man has performed immense intellectual labor, we call it intellectual labor, in an attempt to decrease the miseries of material existence, but all these efforts have been directed within the realm of matter, resulting in an improved ability to control material energy through science and technology. Modern man has, with almost a religious dogma, avoided applying his intellectual faculties to understand the spiritual dimension, but all the cherished human qualities like love and compassion, honesty, selflessness springs from the soul, the spiritual aspect of our being actually. Therefore, this negligence of spiritual life has disastrous consequences, including a marked decline in human virtues. Hence, that Dr. King's observation that we live in a time of guided missiles, but misguided man, Bhagavan Sri Krishna systematically actually explains in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita the difference between matter and spirit, and provides a practical methodology for spiritual elevation. Bhagavan Sri Krishna thus helps us to understand how ignorance and neglect of spiritual dimension is the bane of modern civilization. He too recommends yoga as a means to spiritual emancipation. Contrary to the general notation, Bhagavan Krishna states that mere physical postures and breathing exercise do not constitute a yoga, but they are just beginning of one type of yogic practice only. Actually, yoga involves harmonizing all energy, material and spiritual, with original source of energy, the energetic, the supreme, the absolute beauty. Bhagavan Sri Krishna states that meditation or the dhyana yoga and philosophy or the jnana yoga or detached action, karma yoga and devotional service to the Lord, or the bhakti yoga, are means by which a soul can advance on the path back to harmony. But ultimate success comes only by devotional service. As Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita 11th chapter 53rd श्लोक, नाहम वेदैन तपसा न दानेन चेज्या शक्य एवं विदो द्रष्टुम दृष्टवानसि माम यथा. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Ved, nor by undergoing serious penance or austerity, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by this means that one can see me as I am. And furthermore, Sri Bhagavan says, Bhaktya to nanya shakya aham evam vidorjunah gyatum drashtum cha tattvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Oh my dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way you can enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Here Bhagavan says, established the truth that all other paths of yoga are only stepping stones to the attainment of that devotion, as Bhagavan Sri Krishna says. And furthermore, in 6th chapter 47th slok, Bhagavan says, yogi nam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana. And on 7th chapter 19th slok, Bhagavan says, bahunam janmanamante jnanvanma prapadyate vasudeva samatma vasudeva sudurlabha. And 3rd chapter 9th slok, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, yagyarthat karmano netra lokoyam karmavandana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara, etc. There are many like these sloks which establish the supremacy of a bhakti yoga among all other paths of spiritual advancement. The best method of devotional medicine for the current period in the cosmic cycle called Kali Yoga, or the yoga of quarrel and hypocrisy. The best devotional service or devotional meditation is the mantra meditation, as in Vibhuti Yoga 10th chapter 25th slok, Bhagavan says, yajnanam japa yagyosmi. Among all the type of yajna or the sacrifice, japa yagyosmi, mantra meditation or chanting the whole name of the Lord is the best. Especially the chanting of Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, here a person moving forward on the path of harmony discovers in the time a decrease in the mental agitation from irrational passions and unshakable inner tranquility, and finally an eternal ecstasy for the love of Sri Bhagavan coming from the spiritual stratum. Bhagavan Sri Krishna therefore concludes with an unequivocal call for loving harmony and supreme loving harmony or the loving devotion with the absolute beauty. So, Bhagavan Sri Krishna declares the higher realities of life to be pratakshya means directly perceivable within. In 9th chapter 2nd slok, Bhagavan says Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratakshavagamam Dharmam Susukham Kartumabhyam. So, here Pratakshavagamam is used. The knowledge is the king of all education, as we have all knowledge, everything, as we have heard it before also, the most sacred of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because after this is most important, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of all kind of dharma. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. So, thus we see that Bhagavan Sri Krishna's approach to the study of this cosmos is not all dogmatic, rather it is bold and completely scientific. He presents and postulates logically and systematically. Altogether, he provides that enterprising spiritual scientist with a practical method to verify those postulates or what he advocates. Bhagavan Sri Krishna's explanation of the truth of life is so cognate, coherent and profound that for most modern scholars, even just forget about Easterns or Vedic, but even for the Western scholars, we studied Bhagavad Gita for the first time in 17th and 18th century. It was love on first reading. There are many writers, many scientists and many intellects, those who have that faith towards Bhagavad Gita in comparison with all other modern world's literature. Unfortunately, with the passage of time, imperial bias among Western scholars obscured the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita from enlightening the whole humanity at large. And we have seen Nepalese and Indians, or we can call Hindu intellectuals, affiliated or convinced by the feelings of cultural inferiority from prolonged foreign subjugation, did not give the Bhagavad Gita the importance it deserved. In fact, it was only when His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada carried the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita to the West in 1960s that the world started recognizing the glory of this philosophical masterpiece once again. Actually, Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is has actually soon become the most widely read Bhagavad Gita edition in the world, now translated into almost 100 of languages. Bhagavad Gita as it is has transformed the lives of millions from confused despair to enlightened happiness. We have seen that. Srila Prabhupada had been acknowledged as the greatest cultural ambassador to the modern world. In fact, his vision was a global east-west synthesis. If a blind man carries a lame man, they can both move forward. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada understood that if the materially prosperous but spiritually blind West and the spiritually gifted but materially impoverished East joined the force, the combination would usher in an era of peace and prosperity all over the world. So, his establishment to current date is working tirelessly at the grassroots level to make his vision into reality. And the West has embraced a hedonistic way of life, and the East, enamored by the glitter of Western culture, is casting away the treasure of Vedic wisdom, that it is a priceless heritage of us. It behoves all intelligent and responsible student of Eastern philosophy or the Srimad Bhagavad Gita to understand, assimilate and distribute to their fellow human beings the gift of the wisdom of Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra. And if we will be able to preach this masses, this wisdom, this gift gifted by our culture, our tradition to us, to the world, then that real peace and real brotherhood and real happiness in the world can be achieved. Hare Krishna.